Hello, welcome everyone. Today we'll be talking about making our house more sustainable. Let me introduce myself. I hope you can see the screen as well. I'm sharing. My name is Wioleta Burdzy. I wear multiple hats. And one of the hat is that I'm a do what you love coach, where I work with people to support them in making their life, their dreams reality, working with their goals, plans, strengths, and eventually hurdles that might come on the way. I'm also a trainer and a psychotherapist in making. And as you mentioned before, I'm also co-creator of Young India Challenge. So Young India Challenge is a national level two-day event for the top youth of India, where we invite them and we encourage the youth to connect their passion with their career and with finding solutions to the biggest challenges that we are facing today, which are defined by United Nations as Sustainable Development Goals. Anyone here has heard about Young India Challenge or attended Young India Challenge in the past? If you could just type it in the chat. I'm curious to know if you are familiar with the concept. I know that some of you are. Yeah, Sasvak, you said that you've heard about it. Yeah, Akila, that you've heard about it. Yeah, so you probably know what I'm talking about. So sustainability was not always my interest. As I said, I am by education and by profession. I can hear some voices. If you could please mute so that we could hear each other better. Thank you so much. So by education and by profession, I am a social psychologist and I'm an human resource specialist as well. And when I came to India in 2014, with my husband, we have started Young India Challenge. And that was the reply to growing unemployability and the job dissatisfaction among the young youth of India. You might have heard of some of those people who are studying something only because they've heard from their parents or from their uncles that this is something that they should do because they will be very successful at it. They end up studying it, not being very much interested in it, ending up in jobs which are not very satisfying, waiting for Fridays to come, or being depressed on Monday when they have to go back to work. So maybe some of you know who are those people I'm talking about, because all of us have them in our friends or families, or maybe among us as well. So the longer I was staying in India, the more I was realizing that there are several things which I was taking for granted before I came to India, when I was living in Poland and in Greece. And those things were related to environment. So back home, I never wondered about clean air or waste management or sustainability as such. It was also 6-7 years ago. And somehow magically, I believe that, if I have my wrapper and I put it in a dustbin, it just disappears, or someone will recycle it, or it will just be used for something else, that basically it will not exist anymore. And here I live in Delhi, and just around the outskirts of Delhi there are three major mountains of waste. And this is something that once you see, you can't unsee how huge that is and how much amount of garbage we are actually producing. And also because I live in Delhi, especially around Diwali time, I experience a lack of fresh air. There are many reasons for that, but one of the reasons is, but what it makes me realize is that we might actually run out of air, fresh air. And that's something that realization really started troubling me. Even these days in Poland, we start talking about the fresh air as such, because there are pollutions globally that is happening. So the world is changing. We are polluting it more and more. And with this and many more experience, and maybe really realize that with our current way of living, with our current way of consuming, we are heading for the disaster, actually. And there are a lot of ways how it's happening. You might be very much aware of climate change, and the biggest sources of greenhouse gases are these, like industrial agriculture, air travel, oil production, deforestation, coal plants, the electricity. We are very grateful for the electricity because we needed to have a charged up laptops to be able to see each other today. But at the back of what we are doing, there are those pollutants because of which the air is becoming worse and worse, and the climate change is actually happening. Industrial processes, all the products that we are buying, they need to be produced, and for that there need to be resources, and of course the fume which is coming out of the chimneys after all. So all of this made me realize that we do not have the luxury of thinking only about ourselves and about our career and about the convenience of our family. The world really needs us to find solutions for the local and global challenges. And you might be wondering, so what about do what you love, about finding your passion, and isn't that important anymore? Well, it is. It is. It's very much important. And because it's up to us how we can choose our 8 hours of work that we are contributing to, 8 on average, sometimes even more than 8. So for instance, if you are passionate about being a marketing person, right? You are working in marketing and you are working for a company that is producing and selling some products which are not sustainable, you are contributing to that as well. Instead, you could work for a company that is giving some solutions or producing products that are sustainable. Like for instance, not promoting a plastic toothbrush, but promoting a bamboo toothbrush as a substitute. Or for instance, if you love writing and you want to write a blog, you can, instead of writing about another hotel or another restaurant, you may write about responsible tourism or places that are implementing sustainable solutions. Or if you are an architect and you are designing houses and offices, I always wonder why in sunny India there are so many of skyscrapers which are made out of glass. Then you need a lot of electricity to actually use ACs to cool those places down for people to even be inside. Why not to design buildings which are relevant for the weather conditions that are in that particular place? So what I'm trying to say here is that we should be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And with all these challenges that we are facing today regarding the environment, the way we consume, and the way we use the natural resources, these problems are huge. And unless we are in love what we do, unless we are really passionate about it, we won't be in a position of keep going on and on, despite all the challenges, for the issues related to climate change. We need to implement our passion for doing what you love to solve those global challenges. And I'm sure that many of you have heard those this very famous quote of Mahatma Gandhi, be the change that you want to see in the world. It's so relevant in so many places, in whatever we do. And that's what I did. And I'm sure that if you are listening to me right now, if you are in this webinar, I'm assuming that in some way you are also concerned about the situation that is out there, and you would like to be a part of the solution as well. So the best way to start is always to start with ourselves and to do our own homework. And that's what I did. Therefore, I would like to invite you to my house. I'm going to show you some implementations that I have done around my house. And also during those changes, I was measuring the financial impact as well, because there are a lot of myths around sustainability is expensive. So I wanted to check that as well. I will come back to this financial list matrix a little bit later. So how to start? So sustainability is a mindset. a mindset of minimalism. So first, what I did is I started with decluttering my house. I went to each corner of the house, each room, each cupboard, cupboard I opened, and I checked what are the things that I don't really need. I don't use them anymore. Like, you know, girls, we have those clothes which we will use once we lose 5 kg or things like that, and then we never end up using it. So these kind of things that we think that we would use in somewhere someday maybe, but we never end up doing it. So I checked all those things at my home, and I asked myself those questions. Oh, first, can I repurpose the products that I'm using? So for instance, I had a towels, and instead of buying new mats to the bathroom, I use those towels, I put them on the floor. Some of the things I give away to people who might need it more. So for instance, if I had clothes or stuff which I didn't use, I ask people around me who needs that. Sometimes I swap with my friends. So I usually tell this that I got a pipe to water my plants, and I realized that that pipe was too long. And my friend told me that, oh, really, I wanted to buy that kind of a pipe, but you know, I said, you buy the shorter one, I have the longer one, and then we swap. So then both of us have what we really wanted. Some of those things could be recycled, like a paper. There are a lot of organizations that collect the paper and they are turning it into notebooks, for instance, and then they distribute it to people who need it. Or we can sell it. Very often I sell my phones, my laptops, because I don't need them and someone else might need them. Recently, I got secondhand treadmill, which I was using maybe only for 1 year before I realized that's enough. And I sold it to someone who needed it, wondering for how long, but the person got it also like used secondhand from me. And also we look at things if we can fix them. You must realize one thing, that those changes are not overnight. This is a process. What I'm about to show you, I was implementing for probably 11 months. And there are still a lot of things that I would love to implement. And another thing is that we start slowly. So I didn't end up throwing all the plastic toothbrushes, which I had at home, before even using them and replacing them with a new one. First, we use the products that we have, and then we slowly, once the termination date is over, we replace them with a new product. So let's not create a new waste, which is unnecessarily, just because we want to be a sustainable. It's a slow process, step by step, applying one single change at a time. While I'm speaking, you might have some questions. So if you could please write them down in the chat. At the end, if time allows, I will answer those questions. If not, I will try to come back to you with a different form of answering the question that you might have. So please, whenever you feel you have a question, you want to ask something, or I'm speaking too fast, just type the question in the chat box. I will try my best to come back to those. All right, so a couple of tips to think about before we go for shopping. So first of all, I ask myself, do I actually need this product that I'm about to buy? Because a lot of things that we buy are just out of compulsion. We don't need them, but we like the advertisement of it, or we like the fact that our friend had it, so we said, okay, I need it too, when we actually don't. Then can I fix something that got broken? My husband makes fun of me and he calls me Chota technician, which is a small technician, because I keep on having my screws and different tools and I'm fixing things around before I actually say, okay, I can't fix it anymore, we need to buy something. We need to buy the replacement for it. And another thing is that, can I buy used, secondhand? I told you that I bought the treadmill, which was used by someone else, and then I sold it again to someone else. There are always options to check where someone doesn't need those products anymore. And also another one is that, if I'm about to buy it, if I really need it, can I buy it from the sustainable business? There are businesses that are offering products which are, as I said, made in a sustainable way. And why not to have help these kind of businesses instead of those who are doing the business as usual and polluting our planet. And the last thing is that we should also know that we can say no to some things which are coming, even if they are for free. So let's say some people are giving out leaflets on the pamphlets on the street. What will I do with this pamphlet after 5 seconds? Like, I will check, do I need it? I don't need it. I will throw it. So it's immediately after 5 seconds, it's a waste. I always say that, no, thank you. I'm not gonna, what is it about? No, thank you very much. I will not need it. Or sometimes there are all those offers, buy two, get one free. If you don't really gonna consume that much, don't take it. Why to create waste only because of we are seduced by price or by opportunity when we're not really planning to use that? So we should also keep it in our mind. So now I'm going to invite you to my house. I'm going to show you a couple of things that I've done. It's not going to be all in the interest of time, but just a couple of ideas I will try to show you. So first of all, fresh fruits and local fruits, which are seasonal. There are a lot of those vendors who are just close to our society gates, and they are selling fruits which are just the seasonal fruits. It's a very good opportunity to get very good food without all those plastic packages. Okay, someone just muted. And without using all those packages plastic that we are getting normally in supermarkets from the local vendors, that can be possible. The best if the products are organic, because they then don't have all those pesticides and chemical fertilizers, which are not good for the bees, not good for the planet, not good for the soil, not good for the water, and definitely not good for our bodies. If we are consuming all the chemistry inside, then we will, after some time, we will have to pay back to our doctors because our liver might be not in a good shape, or other parts of the body might suffer. Basically, vegetarian diet is the best, is the most sustainable, because producing meat requires a lot of resources. So for instance, to just for the one animal, what we need a lot of water. So this slide says that each day a person who eats a vegan diet saves. So someone who is a vegan, he doesn't eat food, he saves a lot of water, first of all, because those water is needed to be produced, to produce the grain. The grain is needed to then give to the animal so that it could grow bigger. A lot of forests need to be cut in order to create a space for the animals to even roam around somewhere, right? So if we are eating non-veg, we are in a way participating in deforestation in that way. I'm not saying that you have to become a vegetarian straight away. For me, it just happened when I came to India that I stopped eating meat, but at least to limit the meat to maybe once a day or once in a while. There are a lot of vegan protein substitute for the meat, like spinach, soya milk, asparagus, chickpea, chia, avocado, broccoli, quinoa, oats, cauliflower, lentils, mushrooms, a lot of them. So don't worry that if you don't eat meat, you will have less muscle. That's not true. There are a lot of those substitute anyway. And trust me, if you eat a plant-based diet, there are a variety of options. And you know, in India, we know it the best. That there are so many options for the vegetarian that definitely we can survive without meat. Also, when we are buying vegetables and other commodities, like agri-commodities, we should be checking for the certifications. So there are certifications whether the food is organic or not, but there are also certifications whether it's sustainable or not. So for instance, those bananas are sustainably certified with Rainforest Alliance certification. Now they merge with foods. So some of you might know, but there are other certifications for sustainable tea, coffee, palm oil, for instance. So there are a lot of chocolate, cocoa butter, right? So there are a lot of different certifications that give us a hint that, okay, this is sustainable without me actually going and checking to the farmer how to produce it. So there are organizations who are doing it for us. When I go for shopping, I try to take my own cotton bags, because a lot of times the vendors are giving us a plastic, which I always refuse. I always say I have my own cotton bag, so please give me into this. And why I'm trying to reduce the plastic is because the life cycle of plastic is just mind-boggling. For instance, this small plastic bag that we use for one time, for let's say half an hour or less, it takes 20 years for this to disappear. And look at the bottom of this graphic. For a plastic water bottle, it takes 450 years to decompose. My children won't be here. My grandchildren won't be here. Maybe even my grandchildren won't be here, and this bottle will still be there. Something that I was using only for maybe half a day if I was drinking it slowly. And there is another problem with plastic, not a lot of people are aware of it, is that a lot of this plastic ends up in the ocean. It breaks down into a microplastic. Then it's eaten by the fish and by the seafood, by the sea animals, which then we consume in form of seafood. And the plastic enters our body, our food chain. So there was this really amazing campaign by WWF making us realize that it takes us only 1 week to eat plastic, which is equivalent to a credit card. It's unbelievable how much plastic actually enters our body these days through water and through food that we are eating. There are a lot of very amazing sustainable solutions which I found in India. I'm just in love with them. So for instance, I used to see many of those leaf plates. The street vendors were serving food in them. Now they use a little bit more of those plastic or paper one. Eating on the banana leaf, that is so amazing. Like beat that. It's a really good sustainable idea. And as Indians, we should be, I consider myself Indian because I live here already for so long. We should be very proud of it and make those patents, because I noticed, for instance, in Germany, there is a company who is patenting plates made out of leaves, and then they will sell those patents all over the world. Well, actually, it was not their ideas anyway. It was the same with Red Bull and many other products. So we should be a little bit more aware of what are the really amazing sustainable solutions which are available already here, and suggest them to the world. If we really need to use the single-use plates, let's use those which are natural. They are more and more popular in supermarkets. Then these days we are using those paper one. Well, I've researched a little bit about it, that the paper plates and also the paper straw we were so happy to use are actually not so sustainable because it takes time for them to degrade. All right. I just had some message here. Wooden tools. So I used to have a lot of those silicone or plastic tools in my kitchen. I have replaced them with the wooden one. I know it's not very new idea. Our grandmas were using it. Like a lot of sustainable ideas our grandmas or our parents were using. But I found it really amazing because those wooden tools are more durable. So I have them for such a long time, while those plastic ones are being. I'm not. The plastic one got broken long time ago, and I had to throw it. Also, I used to, before I was using those Scotch yellow sponge to wash my dishes. It's full of plastic and synthetic. I have replaced it with the natural coconut cord. It cleans as good as any other. And also I make my own eco dish liquid. For instance, to create this one, I used soap, baking soda, essential oil, and water. And I have only one bottle, which I keep on refilling. I don't need to buy another plastic bottle with a dishwasher liquid and throw it. So it's another idea. Let me take you to a bathroom. So I try to replace a lot of cosmetics that I was using with the natural products. So, for instance, the shower gel with a plastic bottle, I have replaced by using soap, which is packed in more sustainable way with paper or basically not plastic. And a lot of different cosmetics are these days packaged in a more sustainable way. Bamboo toothbrush, I have already mentioned that there is an alternative for the plastic one. Wooden earbuds. When I was a small child, we were using a matchstick. We would put the cotton around it, rub it, and make it earbuds where only the cotton would be thrown and the matchstick would be still there. But there are already those ready-made as well. Yeah, and that's something that is disturbing. Therefore, we should really think about the substitute for the plastic that we are using. Ladies, so to remove our makeup, we can, instead of using the cotton pads, we can use the one which are washable. We just throw them in a washing machine with the rest and having a new clean one. And also during the menstrual cycle, instead of using those plastic sanitary pads or tampons, we can use the washable cloth pads. Or there are more and more popular menstrual cups where you can just wash it with water and you can reuse it many, many times. Why am I mentioning this is because the sanitary pads that we are using are 90% made of plastic. And also there is a 6% of plastic in tampons. And once used, you can't recycle it, you can't do anything with it. And it's just land up all those huge mountains of garbage. Sometimes even creating a slightly danger if the water comes. So there are replacements for that. Also detergents that we are using. In India, there is a popular Cochin to use for the glasses. I use my own, which is made out of vinegar. It's amazing. I use it for not only for the glasses, for windows, for glass tables, for surfaces in my kitchen, refrigerator. It cleans almost everything. And it's not so dangerous for health. It doesn't create that much it doesn't have that much chemicals. The same with the detergents to clean our toilets or our washrooms. There are recipes that we can use which are more sustainable, more eco-friendly, and with less of those toxins which are inside. Why I'm talking about it is because those usual products that we are using, ready-made at in the supermarket and shops, they have a lot of toxins and a lot of allergens, which can cause skin, eye, and respiratory issues. It is linked to cancer. It is also linked to a hormonal disruption and asthma and other reproductive harm that it can cause. So it's good to replace them. And also imagine that all of these chemicals that we are using to clean our houses, and also shower gels, shampoos, which are full of chemistry, all of this is going into our drain, to our water systems, and then it comes back to us in the form of not having enough drinking water, which in India is also a big issue. It's becoming a very big issue, especially because of the drought and because of the pollution of the water. The same with the washing. When we wash our clothes, there are detergents which we can use, which are more sustainable, less chemical. Living room, only 2 examples in the living room. So when we are inviting our friends and we are having a tea, instead of using the tea bags, I replace them with a tea strainer. And the tea that is left from the strainer, I put as a natural fertilizers to my plants, so there is no waste whatsoever. Reading, I try to read more on my device. I love books. Even behind me, yeah, that's the same book. I love reading it, but I'm trying to use more of my mobile phone to do it there. Or for instance, swapping with my friends. If we have a similar interest, we are just checking, like, okay, I can borrow you this book, what do you have? Maybe I can borrow from you. And with that ways, we are trying to reduce a little bit of the deforestation. Bedroom, this is one of my favorite gifts I ever got, and it's from someone who is on this webinar, from Dorotka. Thank you so much for it. It's a sunlight battery light. Yes, I'm using it almost every day. You just put this small battery in the right place where the sun lands on it, and at night you can have really nice atmosphere, really nice light. So instead of using electricity, you can just have a nice atmosphere in your bedroom. And also whole house, I have changed the bulbs from the traditional ones to the LED so that they use less energy and minimize the bills as well. There are varieties of ways to reduce to save the energy, from the obvious one that if you're not in the room, switch off the light. If you're not using AC, don't, or a fan, switch it off. But also like those when we are, for instance, using a kettle when we want to make a tea or coffee, and we fill the water till the top. We should just put as much water as we need so that there is less energy used for heating up. Or if we are putting a hot stuff inside our refrigerator, then the refrigerator needs more energy to keep the low temperature of the refrigerator. Office.
I think we are about to run out of time in like a couple of minutes.
All right. I will just. Okay, so I will just thank you for reminding me. Okay, so I will just speed up. So there are ideas for the office. This is just to point out that we don't need a lot of resources. We just need to be resourceful, and Jugaru is the way. Responsible paper. So I will just come back to. There are a couple of other ideas, but I want to really come back to this slide about the finances. So eating our essentials, having a reusable mug. In India, we are lucky that we can drink straight from the natural packaging as well. I wish to have this kind of a bike. I don't, but there are options like that. So 3 minutes more. My motivation to do those sustainable changes was because I really wanted to reduce my my impact on the planet and the waste I was creating. But there are other intuitive side effects of doing it. So first of all, reducing the amount of waste, lesser usage of water and electricity, mental balance, because I throw a lot of, like, I made a space in my house and I put a lot of plants, which makes me feel a little calmer and really good. Involvement of my family members. I love to discuss with my husband other ideas that we have of how can we implement some new sustainability options, and inspiring others as well. But something which I didn't foresee was this matrix. So just to give you a couple of examples. On the green side, I have put the prices of the products which I bought, which are sustainable. On the right side, on the orange side, are those prices of products which were like a regular, what I was using before. So for instance, dishwashing scrub, the one I showed you, made out of coconut, when I cut it into pieces and made it similar to the normal sponge, Scotch sponge, it cost 23 rupees and the normal sponge was 30 rupees. 7 rupees, but still, if I look at 1 year of using this kind of sponge, for this coconut scrub, I would pay 550 rupees, and 1 year of normal Scotch sponge would be 720 rupees. So not only I'm reducing the cost at home, I'm also reducing the waste which is going into the landfills. But another idea. So for instance, menstruation cloth pads. The initial
I think
price.
I'll be just sending a link right now because the meeting might get over right now. So if everybody can check their chat box, we can restart a new meeting. So we'll get another half an hour. Or what I have done is, like, I have sent a link in the chat box itself for either starting a new webinar or to use it as a link for the questions and to have a next session. So I have updated 2 links on the chat room. So if everybody can check that right now. If it doesn't get disconnected.
In case we just...
yes, in case if it gets broken.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just want to, using this time before we disconnect, I have made a WhatsApp group as well for those who want to continue this conversation about sustainability. I'm going to also send you the links, but this group name is Sustainable Living Movement. You can find it on Facebook. We can also connect on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And let's see how much time we have. So just wanted to show you, coming back to this, menstruation pads. There was a I normally I had to spend 1,314 rupees for the whole what I showed you, the cloth pads and the menstruation, which was, if you could please unmute yourself. Yeah, thank you so much. So that was a kind of an investment into comparison of
sustainable living.
I think I'll just have to mute.
sustainable.
Please, can everybody come on the speakers?
If you could please mute yourself, it would be okay. Okay. So yeah, so what I was saying is that, that when I summarize the price of the products I spent to swap them for the sustainable products, I spent those that I was able to measure. There are a lot of things I was not able to measure, but this that I was able to measure. I spent 4,989 rupees, and if I continue with the old products, I would spend much less, because that would be 2,365 rupees. So obviously I had to invest in order to switch to sustainability. But if I look at the 1 year spending, because I did not have to buy those products again and again, I end up spending only 14,518 rupees within a year for the sustainable products. In comparison, what I would spend on the regular products, 27,410 rupees. And of course, the same goes with the 5 years and the more years we are using it. So in fact, within 1 year, I cut the expenses of my house that I was, according to this example, in half. And that's something that we need to look at in the long term when we are thinking about sustainability. That is not only about the one-time expenses just right now, with only today. We have to look at it from a long-time perspective. Not only I save those money into on the products, but also I did not generate that much garbage. I didn't use that much plastic. It is better for the environment, and also for obviously for the finances of our house. And I'm very much aware that what I have mentioned here, the solutions might not be relevant to everyone. I didn't mention about water, about fashion, about energy, about composting, about transportation. There are a lot of these issues which are there, and therefore different people will have a different kind of solutions. Therefore, I would like to invite you to this Facebook group that I have created to discuss it further. And also to make you to invite you that first we should start making our house sustainable. Then we can invite also some changes into our offices, into our workplaces, and then to our neighbors and friends and family, because they will ask, why you are asking me to change if you are not doing it? So always the change needs to come with us. So with this, I would like to close. Thank you for allowing me to prolong it a little bit after. And if there are questions, yeah, we still have some time to do that.
I was really sorry to interrupt you. This was a really good session, and I was just scared it would just break in between and everybody would lose the information. So anyways, we have
still good, so good.
We have received a lot of questions. I would just like to start by asking. So there is this one question from Nichi Raj. So it is like, what would be your opinion or suggestion to inculcate sustainability mindset in the uneducated mass of this country, and wherein people have no sense of hygiene, no concern for resources, pollutes everywhere in every step, litters and the surroundings and etc. So how can you educate the mass number of people in this country?
Thank you for that question. It's a very good question, because we often think that we need to educate someone and we need to start with the masses and with the poor people. I must tell you that it's not not poor people do not pollute that much as the rich people. Because if you look at the consumption of people who can afford buying products, buying phones, buying new clothes, buying traveling by flight, those effects are much higher than people who are living in a slums or in poor areas of India. So let's think about educating those who have money, who have resources, because they consume and pollute much more. It's just that they put their waste into a garbage in comparison to those who do not have such resources. If you go to the village, if you go to the slums, you will see how resourceful those people actually are. It's just that they don't have the dustbin next to their place. So they, as a community, they decide where is the garbage that we're gonna have, and they throw it over there. So for us as an outsider, it looks like they don't care. And I was thinking like that for many years before I actually went to some slums and I start talking to people. This is not the group we should start with. We should start with those who have resources.
Also, do you think that there exists an inequality between the higher tier of people who can afford these resources as well? Because I think there might be a lot of people who actually can afford the sustainable solutions, which seem to be at the expensive end. And there are people who are in the middle who cannot afford this kind of reusable products, which seem to be expensive at first, but in the long run, they're maybe lacking awareness that this might be economical for them. So I think the price of entry is different for different people, and this creates an inequality between different people to enter this sustainability race. Or do you have any suggestions around that?
Awareness, yes, that is definitely awareness. Because we are, as you said, India is a very cost sensitive market, and whatever we say, this is cheaper, this is better. How is that possible that we eat, let's say, Parle-G biscuits for 10 rupees? Like someone, like how is that possible that such a biscuit costs so little? Someone was not paid enough to create that product at the first place. And therefore, with the sustainability, we should change the narratives of how we are promoting it. We should not tell people let's say in India, right? Because you're talking about the cost-sensitive market. We should not tell the people that this is good for the planet, because they will say, I don't care, I have not enough money. We should tell them that in the long run, you will save a lot of money. If you are a student and you say that you don't have money to invest in, let's say, sanitary pads which are washable, I'm telling you, you better save a little bit of money, because you will save lots of them in the long run. So we should start thinking that way, that sustainability is actually saving us money, and we should target people by changing the narratives of how we talk about sustainability, that it's not for the planet, that people don't connect to, that it's not because of the well-being of all of us, it's for your own well-being and for your own pocket as well. I think that's how we could do it.
Yep. And another question is from Danshyam, and it's like, what is your opinion about Beyond Meat? And for meat lovers, would it be a really good alternative? There is a few companies that are coming up with alternative meat that is plant-based. So do you think that is a very sustainable option?
What's the replacement of the meat?
Yes.
Plant-based, like what
plant-based
plant?
Meat. Yep.
Which plant? Like what are they using? Soya, cockroaches? Because I've heard about that.
I'm not sure.
I don't know the Beyond Meat what they are
I think there are some few companies that are using artificial tissues and things like that. I'm not really sure about the composition, and it's becoming a big hype at the moment. So like Beyond Meat and some other companies are there. So the question came that, is it a good option for meat lovers?
They're using soya, someone said. I see in the chat. So what I believe is that, in order to produce meat, we need a space, we need to clear the lands, we needed to cut the forests in order for the animals to roam around, right? And if now suddenly we're going to change it, replace it with soya, you need to grow that soya. What you going to do? Where are you going to grow that soya? You need to, again, clear the land, put the soil, start planting the soya, then you will cut it off and put it into your food. I don't think this is a solution. We are just replacing one issue with another issue. So I don't think, maybe for those who are very, very attached to meat, that could be some sort of replacement for a while, but not in the long run, because then we are replacing one solution with the other. And also, luckily in India, we do not have a lot of GMO, but in order to produce soya outside India, there is a lot of GMO happening. If we are using any form of modified food or food which is processed, this is not sustainable for our body, because the body needs proper nutrition that will sustain it for longer. Otherwise, you start going to doctors much faster. A lot of you, I'm assuming, are very young in this webinar, and you might still not feel. When I was in my 20s, I didn't feel the difference if I eat something which was healthy and unhealthy. I thought I'm still doing fine. My body is operating really well. But the moment you start turning 30, 40, you're going to see the effects. So we really have to be careful what we are eating. And the less meat we eat, the better. And as I said, we have to look what are the replacements, because sometimes they are not a good replacement. They are just putting the problem somewhere else, like for instance with soya. We will still need to clear the lands to start planting that soya. So there might be better ideas, I hope. I'm not sure if that answered the question of,
Also, another question is about a state like Kerala, which is a very consumerism-based economy, and people are really into consuming things. So, okay, what does it has to be in a policy level change, or does it have to be individual changes that will help make Kerala, carbon neutral in the long run?
Well, who is making the law? People. And usually the law is made by people who are in power and who have a lot of money. Those people usually are industrialists, so they will not like these kind of changes. If it was good for us, for the governments, they would start implementing. We know about climate change since the last 60 years. How many implementation of the governmental implementation actually happen, even though it's already 60 years that we know that we are playing with fire here? Nothing happened. So I believe it needs to start with the educating consumer, what we are consuming, how we are consuming, and then pressurizing the government to make those changes. And also it's in our power, because as a consumer, if we stop consuming crap, the crap will not be produced. So it's up to us. If we are feeding the industrialists, the companies, because we are giving them our money, they continue doing so. If we start giving our money to businesses which are sustainable businesses with sustainable solutions, maybe then the law will follow. But as long as we are consuming crap, the crap will eventually consume us, if I may put it in that way.
I think that's what we believe in Bring Back Green as well. Like, I think it's about people starting to use sustainable products. So we are not actually, the other companies or brands should not see us as like, like opposing them or trying to get them bankrupt or something like that. We are actually trying to invest into sustainable products, and I think the brand should adapt and see these like where the money is going or where the people are trying to buy these things. So actually the brand should actually try to be more sustainable and looking where the people are going, or adapting to this situation rather than seeing us as enemies.
Very, very much true. For instance, what I do is that whenever I was buying organic, let's say there is one organic producer which is delivering organic vegetables to my home, and this person was doing it in a plastic. And I wrote to them saying that please don't do it in a plastic, because if I'm aware enough to eat organic food, please don't package my food in plastic, at least, because I know how dangerous it's for the planet and for my vegetables. And they replied immediately by sending it in paper bags, or with they brought one container, and I had to pick it up myself. So there was no packaging at all. But it's up to us consumers, what is that we are asking from our producer, our favorite brands. And then if they know, then they will start changing their behavior. So I agree here with you, is that we don't want to like completely destroy Coca-Cola, which maybe, sorry for bringing that idea, but maybe show them that we don't need to drink sugar, first of all. They might turn into other better products, and maybe they don't need to use that much plastic. But it's up to us consumers how we are approaching it. Let's not wait for the government, like forget about it. Like don't wait for anyone to solve the problem. We need to solve the problem, and we need to start from ourselves.
Yeah, because eventually if we start increasing the demand, more people will start keeping it in their shops, and more people will be entertained to buy these resources. Yes. We'll just take a couple of more questions, just at least 2 or 3, and that's max. So one question is from...
Yeah, do we have time? Because I'm looking.
Yeah, I think people suggested
Okay.
that this is not going to break off in between. Okay, so we'll just take 2 more questions. So one question is from Reshma, and it says like, can you suggest some possible alternatives for stationery? As students, we use a lot of hem and things like that. So what are the possible alternatives for stationery as students?
All right, let me show you something. So, for instance, there are notebooks which are made out of seed paper. Once you finish using the notebook, you can plant the seeds that are inside of the paper. So that's one option. There are also those pencils. We can use more pencils instead of plastic pens. That's what I do. For instance, whenever we are printing something, and let's say we wrote only on one side of the paper, I keep using those paper on the other side. So I have a whole stack of different kind of papers, which I used only a little bit. And then I'm reusing them on the other side. So that's another thing, for instance, what I do. What else? What are the other stationaries? Because I mentioned about the seed paper, I mentioned about the pencils, I mentioned about reusing the paper. Whenever we are buying paper for our copy, for our printers or our machine, we can use the paper which are sourced from the sustainable sources as well. There is a certification. The name is FSC. It's a Forest Stewardship Council. And then they are by buying this kind of a paper, you make sure that it's sources from the places where deforestation happened in a sustainable way, in a controllable manner, not by just clearing up everything. And so these are a couple of ideas we can start with. The more we are doing sustainable solutions, the more we are adding our lenses, then we see through those glasses that we can do even more. Therefore, I would like so much to invite all of you to the group so we could discuss what are the other ideas that we could find for ourselves to replace the normal with sustainable. Because the knowledge it's all around. It's not that something that I have invented. A lot of our grandmas, our mothers, and a lot of people are using those ideas. We just need to pick them up and make them fancy for all of us. That's what I think.
Yep, I think we can also start using ink pens and like those pens that comes with seed. Yep. So
yes, those
like these
ink pens are lovely. I remember I received one from my dad. Yeah, so also there are those pencils which are made wrapped in paper and used as starch to keep it, to hold it. So instead of the plastic, you have actually a paper. So what you use is the inside only.
Yeah, I think
yes. I think you had it with you, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So
these are more sustainable solutions. Yeah. This is really great.
So there are more questions, but I think with the time constraint, we can give it a wrap. But in the comment section, we're actually posting a web form. So people, if you have more questions or if you have more queries or want to know more about us and things like that. And also, I put this up like half an hour ago, and some people already have been saying that we need another webinar with you. It was pretty good. So let's see. And especially, I would like to thank the students from Model Engineering College who is taking part in this webinar, and a really good support from all people from around India and around the world, obviously. And thank you so much. And thank you, Wioleta. I hope you had a really good time and everybody had a really good time. Thank you for joining this webinar.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a delight for me because I love this topic. I can talk for ages. So whoever wants to reach out to me, just feel free. However I could help will be my pleasure. Thank you so much for organizing it and spreading the awareness about sustainability, which is a need of an hour. Really great. And thank you for all of you who attended this session and asking the questions. It's great to see that you are also participative and want to know more and learn more. Thanks to all of you.
Yeah, thank you, Viola.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So thank you so much, everyone. Have an amazing night, rest of the day, depending on which part of the world you are.
All right. It's a wrap.
So yeah, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.